This is The Clash, where the real world clashes with a true Christian worldview. Join former professional wrestler Chris Whaley, known as the Masked Saint, who is an author, pastor, and teacher that brings his wrestling skills into the squared circle and tackles real-life issues. Along with Jeff Dixon, best-selling author, internationally known teacher, leader, and pastor who is not afraid to tackle the tough issues of the world we live in. Together they form a tag team of wisdom in The Clash.
4, 3.
Hi, and welcome to The Clash, where we take a Christian worldview, allow it to clash into the culture around us, and when we're done, hopefully you spend a few minutes being entertained, maybe educated, perhaps enlightened, and if that happens, then it's been a good episode. And if not, well, then there's always next week, I guess. But I'm Jeff Dixon. I am one of the hosts of this endeavor. But the real star of the show is sitting to my right, your left on the screen. He's the man under the hat. He is a saint. That's right. It's Dr. Chris Whaley, the saint. How are you?
Good. And if it goes bad, you just blame it on me.
No doubt about it.
Yeah,
blame the guy under the hat. I mean, that's it.
I'm doing great, Jeff. And you know, you always amaze me with the things that you come up with for some of the ideas for the shows that we do on The Clash. And this is another one.
Well,
I mean,
I think it's going to be fun.
I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think for our audience, it's probably an unusual topic, simply because we don't hear about what we're going to talk about as much as maybe we should. And so
What are we calling this episode?
well, this is going to be a devil of an episode. That's the name of it, the devil of an episode. And so, if we're going to call it that, what should we talk about?
I guess we're going to talk about the devil.
I think we're going to talk about the devil.
Satan.
Now,
Yep.
Satan, and you know, we're not going to take the Bobby Boucher approach. You know, that's the devil, Bobby Boucher. We're not going to take that approach to it. We're going to look at Satan
Bobby Boucher.
as he really is, and forget what they said in The Waterboy. We're going to come back and we're going to look honestly at the devil and tackle the topic of Satan in this episode. And we'll get it all done in 30 minutes. Well, it might take 2 episodes.
Might take 2 episodes.
We'll see. But we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Chris Whaley. I went from professional wrestling for 10 years, wrestling some of the biggest names in the business, 4 world champions, and I left the wrestling world to become a pastor. And I wrote a book about that transition because when I became a pastor, I found out that there were some people being abused and people being mistreated. And I ended up dealing with some people more as a professional wrestler than I did as a pastor. And I wrote a book about that transition called The Masked Saint. And it's available along with my other book, which is Harold's Heavenly Christmas. If you like Christmas stories, you're going to love this one. And one day it's going to be a movie. And then my last book is Mr. President. Has 2 lives, a comedian and the world heavyweight wrestling champion. And it is a great read.
Hi, welcome back to a devil of an episode where we're talking about Satan. Now, I think we probably need to kind of set at least some guardrails for us on this thing. And so I think that let's begin by kind of talking about some of the misconceptions that people have about Satan. And let's take a little bit of the mystery or the edge off of Satan, because when you say the word Satan, you almost expect to hear the organ music in the background going bam bam bam. But we're not going to do that. We're going to take a real honest, fresh look at a topic and a reality that we as followers have to be aware of, and we need to deal with in a correct, healthy way. And that's really going to be where we're trying to go. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, to start it off, Satan is real, but he is not equal to God.
Right.
And believers do not have to continually live in fear because of Satan.
Why do you think, I mean, you may not have an answer for this, why do you think we, as people, not everybody does this, but why have we elevated Satan to being like a level with God? Why have we given him equality with God?
Yeah, I think, this is just my own personal opinion on that. I think it has to do a lot with movies that people watch.
Okay.
And, they're thinking, they wouldn't make a movie unless it was true. And so, they watch some of that stuff that they see in movies, like The Exorcist and stuff like that. And I think they come away with a lot of misconceptions. But what do you think?
Well, I think the media piece is a big part of it, because I think so often in movies, if you're a horror movie fan, and I watch a lot of horror movies, and everybody doesn't need to, by the way, but I think there is an element of that type of storytelling where it's designed to scare you. And anymore, when a movie's made, there's always a twist at the end of the movie, and evil survives and wins, even when you think it doesn't. And so I think it's real easy to kind of internalize that and think that's really the way it works. And it's not. But I also think it falls right into Satan's playbook, right? Because he loves it when we give him more authority than he needs to have.
Right.
But you're right. Satan is not equal with God, and I think that one of the tragedies that I've seen in church over the years of being a pastor is there actually are people who are sitting in the pews or in the seats that really do believe that Satan is equal to God.
Yeah.
That he is God's opposite, and he's not.
God is creator. Satan is created. He was created. God is all-powerful. Satan is limited.
Very.
God is everywhere. Satan is not omnipresent.
Right.
So,
and I think, this is probably a really good place to pause just for a minute and make sure we drive home this point. If you're a follower and you're out there and you're thinking that maybe Satan is just as powerful as God, that really is stinking thinking. And Satan's thrilled to death you think that, because it's not true. And if you realize who Satan is and how he operates, and remember that he can't do anything without the parameters that God has set for him to operate in, because he is a created being. He falls under the rule and the authority of the Creator.
right.
If we could get to a point in our life where we take that power away from Satan, our lives would have a lot more victory. And if you've grown up believing that, you gotta jettison that, because that is robbing you of living in the power of God. And I think that's a good place to start. That's a good place to start the conversation, because everything else we say behind it is built upon that idea, which is biblical, by the way, that Satan is not as powerful as God, and so don't think that he is. And that is a common misconception. It's what Satan would love for you to believe. It has nothing to do with the Bible.
Yeah, and if you want to biblically look at the limitations that are placed upon Satan, read Job chapter 1 and chapter 2. And
where he comes asking for permission.
Right.
He has to ask God, "Can I do this?
Yeah.
Will you allow me to do this?" Which
and he puts parameters on it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He does.
I think the second misconception that we need to probably touch on, even though we don't have to stay here very long, is that that Satan is running around in a red bodysuit with horns, carrying a pitchfork, with this pencil-thin mustache that comes up in little curves out there, like the perpetual villain that's tying it to the railroad track. Or like the image that's on the devil's hams thing, right? It's Satan doesn't look that way.
Now, what did you call it? Before we started taping, you call it the cartoon something?
I think I call it the cartoonish villain.
Yeah, the cartoonish villain.
Where, we make Satan nothing but a cartoon, almost a visual boogeyman, if you will.
Yeah.
Satan doesn't look that way. As a matter of fact, if you've ever seen that, I can guarantee you haven't seen Satan. Because I believe, at least from what I understand, is Satan always is a deceiver. And so if Satan's trying to get your attention, Satan is going to present himself in such a way not to scare you, but to attract you, to entice you, to catch your attention. And so he can deceive you but it deceives you with something that will catch your eye, catch your attention, or cause you to want to explore further.
Right.
And I think that, again, if Satan were running around in that red bodysuit, he's not to be afraid of, because we say, oh, there's Satan, we got to stay away from him, and just go on down the street, right? But I also think that misconception falls into Satan's playbook, right? Because, again, when something looks good, it's got to be good, right? Right. Because it's not Satan. So those two misconceptions, I think, at least in my narrow thinking, are the bigger of the misconceptions. One is really theological. The second is very more how he presents himself in our life.
I think you're spot on, about people. They have this picture of Satan sitting on a throne in hell, ruling over demons.
Yeah. And
that's not a true picture, because hell is a place of judgment that is prepared for the devil. And we'll hit that scripture in just a moment.
Okay.
And another thing, we all have a future. Satan has a future. And Satan's future is punishment, not rulership. Matthew 25:41 says that he will also say to those on his left, "Depart from me, accursed ones, into eternal fire, which has been prepared for the devil and his angels." So think of this. People that go to hell go to a place that isn't even prepared for them, because hell was prepared for the devil and his angels. God says, our Lord Jesus says, I go to prepare a place for you. So you need to focus on him and not that.
So again, before we get away from this point, so based on what you just said then, Satan isn't running around in hell. He's not there yet at all. Okay. So
he's doing his work up here.
Yeah, I mean, Satan is alive and functioning quite well here on planet Earth, but he's not in hell yet.
Right.
And I think that's important to remember too, because again, we have a pretty weak concept of hell sometimes as followers. But Satan's not there. Satan hasn't been to hell yet, right?
It's not his kingdom; it's his sentence.
Yeah, that's right. He doesn't rule it.
Right.
Because Satan doesn't rule anything.
Yep. Well, how about this? And I don't know if we're going in the direction you want to, but you can change it after this one. And the thing is, not every bad thing that happens is the devil.
Right.
And I would say the first thing is, we make some sinful choices in our life that affect us. God gives us freedom of choice. And so some of those choices we make are pretty bad. And we also suffer because we live in a very broken world. Or we face consequences of human behavior. I was on I-4 early this morning to go pick my wife up. And there's a lot of evil people on I-4, Jeff. Yeah, just zooming in and out of traffic. And it's terrible behavior. And I was thinking, it's a good thing we're talking about the devil today, because I think he's on this highway today.
Well, Steve Brown, who's not on this network, but Steve Brown says, if you didn't see the devil on the way to work this morning, you're probably heading in the same direction. So yeah, he may have nailed that. But I think what you just said, that really does ring true, because what was the old when Flip Wilson, a comedian of days gone by, did the character Geraldine, Devil Made Me Do It, right?
Devil Made Me Do It. And it made the devil funny.
It made the devil funny and humorous. But Satan is a master at manipulating free will, but Satan doesn't control it.
Right.
So Satan can't make you, and he can't make me, and he can't make any of our listeners do anything, because he doesn't have that kind of power. And the only reason that people think that is because we give him that power.
Right. He throws out some mighty big temptations.
Sure he does.
Right.
Sure he does. But I mean, he doesn't make you choose. And so again, as you think about Satan, and we think about the misconceptions and the lies, and that's Satan is the father of lies, the whole concept of the devil and how we understand the devil in our world, if it's not biblical, it's built upon a lie, because what we've done is we've added something to the biblical narrative.
Right.
And so you got to come back and remember that Satan really doesn't have the power to control you. He doesn't control your choices. He can't make you do anything. Instead, you make that choice yourself, and when you do, then you're choosing a path that makes the devil really happy.
Right.
But what you're really doing is you're choosing a path that opposes the path that God has for you.
Right.
And so, I think, I could be wrong, I think we're off to a pretty decent start on this.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a decent start.
Hopefully, you're finding it informative. We're getting ready to take a break, and so if you need to go run and get a notebook so you can take down all of this brilliant stuff we're throwing out here, do that, because I don't want to overstate this, man. This is a devil episode. And so we're going to come back in just a minute and pick back up. Don't go anywhere. Hi, I'm Jeff Dixon, one of the hosts of The Clash, and that's where you're used to seeing me, but I'm also the pastor of the church at 434 in Winter Springs here in Central Florida. And we got something really cool that's happening. God is moving among us as a people. We are a church on the move, and we are a home for folks that are trying to touch and change the world. And we have one of the greatest opportunities before us we've ever had. We got space issues. That's right, we're out of space. And we're in the midst of what we're calling a space program. We're not building a building per se, because that would be, well, too easy to talk about. What we're doing is we're trying to create space so that we can do the ministry that God has created us to do, and the ministry that He's called us to do here in the Central Florida area. The Clash is one of the things that happens as a result of that ministry, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. We'd love for you to pray for us. We'd love for you to take a look at what we're doing, and we would love, if God leads you, to invite you to contribute financially as well. You're right, I'm asking for money. But hey, if you feel guilty about it, you give. And if you feel really guilty, give more. But the website at the bottom of the screen will take you to our website, where you can find out all you want to know about the space program and so much more. And so take the time and visit with us. If you can be a part of that space program, we would love to have you a part of that journey. Look forward to seeing you there and visiting with you online. Hi, welcome back. Hopefully you didn't get deceived and drawn away from watching the rest of this episode. And if you're here, welcome back. This is the devil of an episode. We're talking about Satan. And we're trying to expose Satan for the liar that he is, but trying to put the conversation about Satan into a biblical perspective, which is the only way to look at Satan, and hopefully helping you and us understand a little bit more about what we need to know about Satan so we don't have to fear Satan.
Right.
And that really is important. So Chris, we kind of, in this segment here, let's move into a conversation about why Satan is considered to be evil, because he is. So why is that? Where's it come from?
James 1:14 says, "But each one is tempted when he is carried away and enticed by his own lust." And so I believe that Satan's greatest weapon may be deception and not possession.
Yeah.
So the Bible, emphasizes about Satan lies, temptation, accusation, and counterfeit truth. You alluded to it earlier. Jesus called him the father of all lies. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think when we see Satan make his first appearance in Scripture, right? I mean, he shows up in the Garden of Eden as a serpent.
Right.
He talks with Eve, and he basically twists the instruction that God gave her and Adam about the tree, the fruit, knowledge of good and evil, right? So he twists it, he deceives her, and causes her then to take a bite of the fruit.
Right. Did God really say?
Yeah. Isn't that typical, right? I mean, if Satan can get you to doubt what God said, which would be biblical truth,
right,
it begins to unravel what you thought was solid, what you believed, and the next thing you know, you find yourself in a pretty tricky spot. But again, that's the deceit piece, right?
Right.
I mean, that is Satan's playbook. And when the serpent showed up, Eve didn't run. She wasn't afraid of him. If I see a snake, I'm backing up.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm terrified of snakes. I just think they look gross. But anyway, besides that, but they tend to be startling because you never expect to see one. You know, if you're walking across your yard and all of a sudden a snake cuts across, you stop, right?
Right.
But she didn't do that.
Yeah.
So she entered this dialogue with this serpent, whatever the serpent looked like, and he deceived her. I mean, from the very beginning. So that's where we enter into this whole idea of the world is broken, we are broken, and we are prime candidates to be tempted and give in to that temptation.
All right. Remember Jim Stafford?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't like spiders and snakes, and that ain't what it takes to love me. Like I want to be loved by you.
Jim Stafford's one of the all-time great artists, by the way. If you don't know who Jim Stafford is, if you have Spotify,
great.
Go find him, Apple Music.
Yeah.
He currently, I believe, is out in Branson, Missouri, doing the Jim Stafford Show. You got to check him out. Very funny guy.
He's from Winter Haven.
Winter Haven.
Yep.
Later in life, he came to know Jesus.
Yep.
And so kind of even cleaned up a few of those words that were in his songs early on and does edited versions of it now. So he's fun to listen to.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with this episode. Anyway, but
okay.
All right, let's come back.
So let me do these two scriptures. John 8:44. You are of your father the devil, and you want to do the desires of your father. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth because there is no truth in him. Whenever he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own nature, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Yeah. And then 2 Corinthians 11:14, no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Yeah. And so, what do you think? Some things that kind of jump out at you from those scriptures. And I'll give you one: confusion.
Yeah,
he's the author of confusion.
He really is.
Yeah.
And you think about it, confusion. Then, how often is it that confusion is the downfall of the way we relate to each other? Mm-hmm. Okay, confusion is at the heart of a lot of what causes disruption in communities. Mm-hmm. Even churches, confusion will mess up your personal life. You misread the situation, the scenario, the workplace, whatever. Confusion opens up the door to come back to what we talked about earlier: division, deceit,
distortion of the truth.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden, we're in despair, right? I mean, it kind of, it is a, because if Satan can keep you confused, you're told one of the phrases that we don't really attribute to the devil, and maybe we ought to more than we think we should, because when a follower says, "I just don't get it," in that moment, we're making an admission of something we don't understand or we're confused about. But confusion is one of Satan's big tools. And maybe we should get in the pattern of defaulting to, I don't understand, but God does. I mean, some other way of phrasing that. Because again, left to ourselves to ponder that cracks open the door for confusion. Because we've all said that, right? I've said it, you've said it, we probably said it to each other in a conversation. I don't get it. I don't get what they're doing that way. Well, that confusion, left unchecked, in our own crazy heads, will lead to a world of hurt and heartache if we're not careful.
Right. And that temptation that he brings against you, a lot of times it's wrapped up like freedom, but it's really bondage.
Yeah.
So what if Satan's greatest strategy isn't to scare people, but to deceive them?
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what you said. When we open our mouths sometimes and say some things, I think we just kind of throw it out there that we're available for whatever you got to bring against us.
Yeah, and I think we balance that by being stronger biblically. I mean, I think that's one of the ways we fight back. I mean, we push back. We have to be stronger biblically because I don't. At the end of the day, Satan doesn't care about us. He doesn't like us. He doesn't love us. He hates us because he hates God.
Right.
Okay. So we don't even have a relationship with Satan, but Satan hates us. And so he's not trying to hurt us from the standpoint of he's trying to hurt us because he wants us to suffer. He wants to hurt us because he's just evil.
Right.
You and I are really non-factors. And the thing is, and we forget about this, when Satan's at work, if he can't get to you, but I become an easy target, he doesn't think twice about you. Because we get in our heads that Satan's always out there trying to play with us and trying to deceive us and trying to trick us. I guarantee you, Satan's not thinking about you nearly as much as you think he is. Why would he? And the closer you are to God, he thinks about you even less because you don't even become a viable target in some ways. That makes sense? I mean, does that make sense?
Right. I agree.
Okay.
So how does Satan actually work? I mean, we know Satan is not omniscient, but he is very experienced, and I'm going to answer this myself. I think one of the ways that he works is he understands pride, he understands fear, he understands lust, he understands bitterness, discouragement, isolation. He has a great understanding of all of those things, and when we kind of tiptoe into those areas with his experience, I mean, we are open prey to be deceived by him, to be isolated because of our failures, to be put in fear, to deal with pride, and of course, I think the biggest one today is got to be lust.
Sure.
I mean, my goodness, I have to be careful when my grandkids are at the house. Just the commercials.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, did you ever think you'd see some of the stuff on TV commercials that you see?
No, and what happens is, I mean, I think because Satan is so good at deceiving and distorting that even for a follower, it was kind of like you get bombarded so much with the stuff and the junk that's out there, it becomes a little bit easier to tune it out or ignore it. And we kind of put it in our rearview mirror and we think, well, it's just not that big a deal. And it may not be to you, but you just nailed it, right?
All right.
Kids or grandkids or someone else, where you may have a handle on it and your walk with God may be a little bit closer, and you may be, it really may just be like water off a duck's back for you. But again, if you're close to God, you have to certainly be aware situationally of who's in the room and what you're doing and what happens. And again, because Satan, because he's so good at dividing, that's how he kind of weasels in. Because he hates it when God is at work, and he hates it when God's accomplishing something, and he hates it when God is strengthening your life or strengthening your family or strengthening the communities that you find yourself in. And so if he can get in and start deceiving and twisting just a little bit, it just takes a little crack, and that little crack becomes a little bit tougher. And the next thing you know, Satan is having a field day in a playground that we basically build for him. Not that he has power, but for some reason we're really good about leaving the gate open and inviting him in.
All right. Well, we have we covered a lot, but we haven't covered everything.
Yeah, we've made a mess, really.
Well, we've just opened up a lot of stuff here, and I think that there's room here for another episode if you're up to it.
Well, I mean, I can keep going with this, but So the devil didn't make us do it.
No.
Episode 2? Is that how what would we call the second episode?
Well, I'm sure that we'll come up with something
Before the next episode.
Before the next episode happens. And
Well, before we go though, let's remind our folks that are watching though, don't be afraid of Satan.
No.
Maybe we can focus on that a little bit next time. We don't need to be afraid of him, but don't make his job easy, because we fight against him because we fight from a position of victory.
Focus more on Jesus and less on the devil.
No doubt.
And when you focus more on Jesus, you're going to be in some great area there.
I think so.
And great protection too.
Yeah.
And we need that protection in our life, don't we?
We do.
We do.
I agree.
Well, we're glad that you joined us this week, and don't forget to turn in next week too, because it's going to be another lively episode. So this week, don't tap out.